I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time.
Hello and welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James. You know, I believe that this is a time on the planet where the energy of the feminine is needed more than ever. This is a time for women emerging, a time when we're being asked to step away from being a victim on any level and to stand in our power and bring our gifts and be change makers. And that's who you're going to meet in this show. Change makers, women who have said, oh no, I'm taking control of my life. I'm going to make a difference on this planet. And they're way showers, which means they're not, some person who's a bedazzled star. They are an ordinary person who's doing extraordinary things to lift this planet. So I'm grateful that you're here. We do this every week. We're on all the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Amazon. We're video on YouTube. What you can do is look for Women Awakening with Cynthia James, and we'll pop up. Subscribe, please. Share the video. Share the links, because I guarantee you, every woman will inspire you on some level. You will walk away with nuggets. You can also go to cynthiajames.net. That's my website. You can join my private community, or you can get gifts or see all the things that I'm up to. So I'm going to introduce you today to someone I've known for a very long time. Love her, call her friend. Her name is Kelly O'Connor. In 2010, she found her calling as an elder rights advocate while working in a local hospice. She then went on to support more than 1,000 families as a move and transitions coordinator and senior living placement advisor. Today, she is providing elder care consulting services and legacy life coaching sessions to support older adults and the families who serve them. She holds a master's degree in spiritual psychology and professional advancement certification of gerontology. She's also a certified senior advisor and certified dementia practitioner, serving on many boards and task forces to create a better world and a better future for older adults. She hosts the podcast Goldenista Social Club. Kelly, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction. I appreciate it so much.
Well, you're just inspiring to me. I want to start at the beginning. How'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in a town at the time that was a small fishing village, and now it's a big international resort area, but it was called Destin, Florida. It still is called Destin, Florida. And it's a teeny little town, and I grew up with my two parents, with two grandmothers and two brothers. We lived in a multi-generational home, and it was a wonderful place to grow up in such a beautiful area. We grew up swimming and boating and skiing and sailing and fishing and crabbing. We just were really outdoors people, and I just loved growing up on the beach.
Well, that sounds wonderful. But in a multi-generational family, I mean, is that where the spark of the fabulous aging community first had its little nudge with you?
Well, it's interesting. So a lot of times in life, you don't see the nudges until much later. But I think that's definitely where the groundwork was planted. My parents were both entrepreneurs, and so they were busy working. And my one grandmother, my maternal grandmother, she lived with us since I was 5 years old. And so it was a wonderful way to grow up and have a parent that was home when I came home from school. It was a grandparent, but to have that parental figure. And she loved to cook. She was from the South, from Jackson, Mississippi, and she loved to cook. And so she would have dinner prepared for my parents and for us. I mean, it was just a wonderful way for the whole family to be engaged in supporting each other.
Well, that's really wonderful. So I want to talk about, because I know a little bit about you. You had a career before stepping into this whole aging phenomenon. Tell us a little bit about that.
I did. I graduated from high school in 1984, and that was when the prime of MTV was around. And I just loved everything about MTV. I loved the VJs, I loved the music, I loved the music videos, I loved the fashion, and I just thought one day I'm going to be in the fashion industry and it's going to be great. And at that time, without the internet, growing up in a small little town, to have such grandiose ideas of what I could accomplish in the world, and what I wanted to do, it was just really unheard of in the small town environment. But I had a wonderful career in the fashion industry and marketing. It was just really, really an amazing, amazing time in my life.
Well, I love that. And I asked you that question because I'm very clear that you just don't drop on the planet and then you become it, whatever it is. There's an evolutionary process. So, how did you get from that to stepping into this beautiful call you have to support people that are aging and their families?
Well, sometimes it's our deepest tragedies where we learn the most. And my mother was my absolute best friend on the planet. And we were so, so close. And she was diagnosed with breast cancer when she was 48 years old. And she died when she was 52. And I was in my 20s and I had two younger brothers at the time. And it was devastating for all of us. And like I said, I wanted to be in the fashion business. And so I learned from that event that life was finite and that if I wanted to live my dreams, there was no time but the present to live those. So I just went off and was able to achieve some great things for the companies that I worked for in the fashion business. But there was always this little piece of me that was tugging at my heart saying, you can contribute to the world differently and you can contribute to the world in a more meaningful way. Now, I still love clothes and shoes and fashion, but there was this piece of me that knew that I had a calling that was bigger than the life that I was living at that time.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I just did another interview, and the woman was talking about those little nudges inside that are connected to our intuition and our inner knowing that are saying, well, this is nice, but have you thought about this? Or there's something more. And so, what made you listen to that and make a move?
That's a really good question. What made me listen? I think that when there's a calling and it's something that pulls you forward, you almost have to say yes. And so for me, that was what the process was. I went through a time when I left the fashion business. I was laid off, actually. I was forced to leave. I wasn't forced to leave the industry, but I was forced to leave my job that I love so much. And so I started volunteering for a hospice because I thought this would be my time that I could give back to the people that gave so freely to my family when my mom was going through her transition. And so I started volunteering for hospice, and there was a gal that called me, and she said that she held my resume for 4 years. Now, I don't know who does that, but she held my resume for 4 years, and she called me and she said, I think you need to be in the senior living business. And at the same time, I had been praying for a purpose. And I had been praying, like, what am I supposed to do? And it was just like everything came in and it just lined up for me. And I ended up not getting the job that she was calling me about, but I asked her to be my mentor. And I had the courage to say, okay, you didn't give me the job, but I think I'm supposed to be in this industry too. What do I do?
Wow. Well, it's so interesting. Ladies, if you're listening, I just want you to know, you know, it's not a straight line to where you want to be. That what she just described was somebody held her resume for 4 years, reached out, and that wasn't the job for her, but it was the beginning of what became this amazing career. So, I want to talk about what you do, but I just want to talk a little bit about as you were growing in this business, because you're certified and you've got this master's degree, you know, were there any challenges?
Oh my goodness, Cynthia. Life is challenging. And, it doesn't have to be that way, but it seems like it is. And when you have the ups and downs of life, and then you have the ups and downs of entrepreneurship all going at the same time, it can be a rough and tumble road. And there were a lot of mistakes that I made along the way that I just didn't know from my, just overall ignorance in how to run a business. There was times in the industry where I really had to dig deep and seek out experts that knew much more than I did at the time. And I took lots of classes and so forth because I really wanted to be great in serving families. And I still have to learn along the way. Like you said, it's not a straight line, but it's also continuing to learn if this is a craft that you have dedicated yourself to.
Yeah, and one of the things I have really noticed about you that has been so incredible is that you have a willingness to learn and grow, but you have a willingness to invest in whatever it's going to take to get you where you want to go. And I just think that's so important because, I want to talk about what you do to help families, because now I know you're consulting, but that can be a large range of stuff. What's your focus?
So my focus is really helping busy professionals that are worried about their older parents. And that is my number one focus. So people come to me and they say, I'm worried about my mom. Her life has gotten a lot smaller. She doesn't seem to be managing her home as well. What do we need to do? She doesn't want to talk about it, or sometimes it's the adult children that don't want to talk about it. And so that's really where people come to me. And I serve them in two different ways. One, I can work with the older adult in life coaching, and that's been tremendous. Or I can help them in the elder care consulting world. And the elder care consulting can be just mediating and navigating family conversations. It can be helping them find the right resources to put together to have a really solid care plan so that everyone in the family knows what their roles, responsibilities are, and that they have really good vetted resources. And then I also do senior living placement, which is helping people find the right placement agent to be able to help them along their journey to find the right senior living community. And what's been great with the advent of Zoom is I'm able to do this all over the country to help families, not just locally, but throughout the country, which has been wonderful. I just have an assignment right now to find some resources in Katy, Texas. Now, I've never been to Katy, Texas before, but I look forward to meeting the professionals there that will be able to serve my client well.
Well, I just am so grateful that you're doing this. There's a lot of us baby boomers on this planet, and we don't think we're aging. We think that, we think that we got all this time left, and oh well, isn't that interesting? And some of us are caregivers of our parents, and then some of us have children who are like, how do we take care of you when all, so I love what you're doing. My question is, though, if someone comes to you and they don't have a lot of financial resources, because one of the things I noticed was that a lot of baby boomers haven't put aside the money for their aging. So what do you tell them?
Well, it's really tough because, in a lot of ways, money does make the healthcare system run. And so we're really lucky that we do have the Medicare program and we have the Medicaid program when people have exhausted all of their financial resources. And so what I do is we really have to gently walk through the process to get people, first of all, to tell the truth. And to do that in an environment where they can be supported and they don't have to feel shame about what they've done and haven't done as far as their financial decisions are concerned. And then we're able to gently put together a plan to help them use the resources that they do have to their maximum benefit. And there's strategies and techniques that I've learned over time to help them.
So you're you're really educating people along with consulting. You're educating them possibilities.
Correct. And there are so many possibilities. And what I love about the baby boomers, I'm a Gen X only by 2 years, so I'm almost a boomer. But what I love about the boomers is they're so creative, open-minded, and willing to find creative strategies in order to make life work for them. There's a lot of co-housing opportunities that are happening that in generations before people would not have been open to. But there's a lot of companies that have come up around the country that are helping people use the assets and resources that they have to their best benefit. And so, sometimes you got to dig deep and get creative, but it's all worth it, in the end when you have a plan that you can really trust.
Well, I think it's so wonderful. So, you know, uh, um, I have a friend who deals with caregiving, and one of the things that oh, you know her too, but one of the things that she talked about was that people um, think they have plenty of time to plan, and then there's a crisis. What do you want this audience to know about the importance of planning?
The importance of planning, it is one of the biggest gifts that you can give to your family is by putting a plan in place. Even if it's a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, at least they know what the roadmap is. And to go ahead and start vetting resources of people that you can trust so that when that time comes, your family is supported in being able to make really empowered and confident decisions around your care. If you haven't had any conversations about this, it is a crisis. And then all of a sudden, you're having to listen to whoever's advice is first and most available in order to make those decisions. And those can be costly financially and emotionally. And so that's what I really tell people. One of the biggest gifts that you can give your family is having conversations about caregiving and about care planning.
Well, that's really important. So you're dealing with people a lot of times in highly emotional states. I want to know, what are you doing for you
Mm.
to be able to balance not taking on all that energy and still taking care of you in the process?
Yes, well, you'll be glad to know I've really spent the last couple of years focusing so much on my own self-care as a practitioner. I found that, in working with the volumes of people that I do with all of their energy, I really struggled with being able to set up those energetic boundaries and also just some of the emotional and intellectual boundaries because I would think and worry about my clients all the time. And so what I've done is I've carved out a morning practice that has become so sacred to me, where I wake up in the mornings. I'm waking up much earlier than I ever thought I would ever wake up. And I do a meditation in the morning. I do a lot of self-care rituals in reading and journaling and making sure that I'm taking my vitamins and supplements, and it's become really sacred. And I do this all early in the morning before I go to the gym. And I've been going to the gym 5 days a week in the morning. Now, I was one of those people that if you told me I needed to be somewhere before 10 o'clock, I would be just waking up. So for me to do this for myself, it really has become important because I want to serve more people. Like I know that this is my purpose on the planet. And in order to be able to serve more people in a graceful way, I need to make sure that that self-care is taken care of in the morning before I start interacting with the world.
Well, I'm so glad you said that because, that's a non-negotiable for me. I mean, I've been doing that for years as well. And it sets my mindset, my energy level, my frequency. And so I love that you're doing that. And anybody who's listening, to do something for you to support and uplift your consciousness before you get out of your house. Oh, and by the way, that gym business, a lot of people don't like to go to the gym. I mean, I live in the mountains and I walk a lot, but I go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week on top of the walking because this body is the only one I've got, and taking care of it is important. Tell me about Goldenista Social Club.
So Goldenista Social Club is my passion project. And so when I started to think about who I wanted to be in my later life, I was thinking, I don't want to be an old lady that people just sort of patronize and, oh, there's that Kelly person. I'm like, I want them to know that I'm this vivacious, sassy, engaged woman in the world. And I hope that I will be that way in my later life. And so I created the name Goldenista, a fashionista in my golden years. And I was like, this just to me is the perfect definition of who I want to be in the world. And so I've created the Goldenista Social Club. We did a first season of the podcast, and it was interviewing older adults. And then the second season is getting ready to come out, and I'm interviewing people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, so a little bit younger than the people I interviewed before, to really talk about aging and community and friendship and what it means to have our own individual style and our own individual mark on the world. So it's something I hope that you'll come and be on my podcast too.
Oh, I would love to be on your podcast because I think I fit that. Well, I just, I want to just say, being an entrepreneur, which you are, is not for the faint of heart. And so it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of money. How do you balance that with your personal life and being able to have harmony?
Wow. How do I balance it with my personal life? So much of who I am in the world is an elder care consultant. It's just who I am. So part of everything that I do is surrounded around, like every dinner party that I go to, we're talking about elder care consulting. It ends up being that way. Like I try not to have the conversation go in that way, but people really want to share about the sacred time that they have with their older adults. And so, I make sure I have Sundays are a sacred day for me. And so I make sure that Sundays are let's say, assigned. I schedule it out for me and my significant other and my beautiful puppy, Herbie Buddy, Love Bug. I love that dog. And we make sure that that's really a sacred day. And so I do work 6 days a week, and I'm lucky that my life is situated that I can do that. And so I just make sure that I hold my sacred times. I don't work before 10 o'clock. I make sure that everything that I do, I start at a later date or a later time so that I can get all of my me time in the mornings. And it's really been a life shifter. I never thought that I would ever be able to do that in the morning. But I make sure that that's really sacred for me. It's my selfish sacred time.
Well, it has been such a gift for me to witness your growth and your expansion and your wisdom. And let's tell the audience how they can find you.
Well, you can find me at kellyo'connor.com, and my O'Connor is spelled with an O-R. So I always make sure for people to know that it's Kelly O'Connor with an O-R at the end, or mylegacylifecoach.com. I'm also very active on LinkedIn, so people can reach out to me there. And my email address is kelly@seniorcarekelly.com. It's all spelled out, Kelly, Kelly, at seniorcarekelly.com.
Well, all right. Anybody out there who's aging or might be supporting somebody who's aging, I hope you wrote that down because she's the best at what she does.
Thank you, Cynthia.
So I ask the same last question of every guest on this show. This show is called Women Awakening. What do you think is the most important thing about women awakening on the planet in this moment?
At this moment, I think it's for women to pay attention to those nudges. You mentioned that earlier, to pay attention to those little nudges on where can I give more, where can I contribute more. And as we continue to do that, to show up, to use our voices, there is tremendous opportunity for us to make change. And so I really look forward, I've been a big fan of your podcast for a long time, and I really look forward to each time one of these episodes drops, because I learn a little bit from everyone. And I think that's where we can really learn from each other and to continue to grow and expand and continue to say yes to each one of those little nudges.
Well, thank you so much. I think that is so important. And I'm so grateful to know you, Kelly, to see what you're doing in the world and that you're following your passion. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much.
All right, ladies, I end this show the same way, using different words. I want to remind you of who you are, how incredible you are, how there's something inside of you that wants to be birthed and brought onto this planet so that you can fulfill your destiny. You don't have to know how to get there, just follow the nudges and the nuggets. I'm grateful that you're in my life. I'm grateful that you're a part of this podcast. I love you, and I will see you soon.